Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's Friday Reflections on this Friday, the 4th of February 2022. I hope everybody is well, wherever you're tuning into this from. We're still living in, well, we're always living in testing times, I guess. It's not just at the moment with this or with other things, but there's always tests on the horizon. There's always difficulties, always challenges. Today, I would like to read from this beautiful book, The Divine Kingdom. It's one of the collections of the Sohbets of Mawlana Shaykh Nazim. This one was published in 1994 by the al-Haqqani Trust. And the Sohbet I'm going to read in here is on page 7. And it's called Illusions. And Mawlana delivered this on the morning of June the 1st in 1985. Bismillah. 99 may be illusions, but one may be a real oasis for you, because the Lord Almighty says, don't cut off your hope, don't despair. You don't have 40 hands to go everywhere, to take 40 shaykhs' hands. Therefore, if you are traveling on a spiritual journey, when you meet with your guide or with your destination, I think it is enough for you that time to be in one place. However, if you are doing it as a pleasure for your ego, you may travel from east to west, looking at this or that. Sometimes I go to the market, looking at one thing or another, and then another from beginning to end. You must know that you want that thing, and you must see where it may be. If you find it, you may buy it and go on, because no one can take the whole market and carry it, or all of the markets. Rather, everyone who goes shopping knows what he is going to buy. So your sheikh sent you here, understanding that you were asking for something. If you can find it with someone, names are not important. But it is important that you are able to find your desire in him. If you can find the thing you want with a young person, it is all right. Anyone you can find with it, it is all right. Your Lord of the heavens may put our purpose with anyone. You must not be cheated by someone's outward appearance, passing him by, saying, who is that person? What thing can be with that one? While it may be with him, that of which you are in need. So Mawlana is saying here, on a purely practical level, if you're on a spiritual journey, you don't have 40 hands to go and make bay'ah with 40 different shaykhs. You only have 2 hands, and you only make bay'ah with the right hand. So, logically, in practice, in reality, you could have a few teachers who you might naturally meet. You might have a few teachers that will teach you. But at the same time, if you meet a good teacher and he's able to give you what you need, then you don't need to be like traveling all around the world and exhausting yourself and traveling to so many different places. Unless you're doing that for your ego, which of course is not the reason that we take a sheikh in the first place. Mawlana continues, we are most in need of wisdom. Knowledge is one thing, but wisdom is something else. Knowledge you may find everywhere. Wisdom is also written in books, but when it is written down, it also becomes a part of knowledge. Wisdom comes directly from the tongue, from hearts. When it is put as writing in books, it becomes knowledge. You may use that, but more important is wisdom. The Lord may place something of his endless wisdom with anyone. It may be a peasant, or a boy, or a woman, or an old man. It may be a young man with a black man. It may be with an ignorant one, as you might say. He may not have been educated in schools or universities, but he may have been given wisdom. We have a saying that treasures are mostly under ruins. No one comes and asks for treasures amongst huge buildings in the center of a city. The one who wants to find treasures looks where there are old ruins. It's true that. You never see, what is it, Laura Croft, Tomb Raider? You never see her going in the modern buildings in the middle of a city or something. Well, it's possible there might be treasures buried underneath them. Sometimes they do have archaeological digs in cities, like when they were building the Bull Ring in Birmingham. They found some interesting things, but generally speaking, that's not where you look for treasures. And again, that was ruins that nobody realized were under the Bull Ring. From the outside, no one could say there may be something there. But underground, among ruins, you may find them. And that person is pleased. He can find broken cups or other broken things. He says, even though they are broken, still they are antiques. They are precious. And he takes them, not taking such an unbroken new thing. If you say, do you prefer this or that? He may say, no, this. I prefer it, though it is broken. I don't prefer to have this new and whole cup. Therefore, divine wisdom makes wisdom to be found with anyone. Don't suppose that it must be people who look suitable from the outside. No, the doors of Islam are open from the east to the west. We can look anywhere. If we find that wisdom, we may take it from anyone. No need to be a special person. No, anyone may have it. The Lord may give it to you. However, we must be humble enough to listen to anyone and to look at what his product is, what he is selling. We may take from anyone when we are humble enough. It's true, sometimes, even you listen to a young child or someone who is, uneducated. If you truly listen to them and listen what they're saying, sometimes they can come up with the most profound things. We should never be too proud that we don't listen to people. And if we are like that, even if we were sitting with a professor or a great scholar or someone who was really knowledgeable and wise, in whichever sense, we wouldn't be able to benefit from them because we would be too proud to listen. There is, of course, that Zen story that I've mentioned previously about the professor who come to the Zen master. And the professor kept talking and talking and talking, sharing all of his ideas and thoughts and everything. And the Zen master kept pouring the tea and pouring the tea until eventually it overflowed the cup. And the professor then says, "Oh, master, what are you doing?" And he said, "What are you doing? Basically, why did you come here?" First, you must empty your cup. In other words, you must put to one side whatever you've learned, whatever you know previously, and just listen. Then you may gain some benefit. Then after you've listened, you might be able to share something, share your thoughts or reflections, but you have to listen first. Otherwise, you don't know what's been said. God Almighty gives his wisdom and he speaks wisdom. You have knowledge. You have so much knowledge. Everyone who comes to me has it. Learned people, perhaps scholars, perhaps because most Western people are educated. But as we said, wisdom is something else. We must be humble. We must look among ruins to dig it out. Yes, you are traveling, seeking wisdom, and you may find it anywhere. It is all right. Knowledge is like a plane, and wisdom is its fuel. Without fuel, planes can't fly. Thus, there are so many scholars, but they are still waiting for fuel. They are so proud of their wings that sometimes they go around like this, like that on a plane, but not flying. Perhaps they say that the knowledge of Sufis is not knowledge, because to them, the only knowledge to be found is what is read in books. We call these products of the mind. These products grow bigger and bigger. It becomes a load, a heavy load for our heads to bear, because we have to carry it around with us. Knowledge from the heart differs from this. Products of the heart carry us. We have to carry mind products, but heart products carry us. It was because of this that Abu Yazid Bistami, a famous grand sheikh in the most distinguished Naqshbandi order, addressed scholars saying, "O scholars, you carry your knowledge about. You are always looking to see whether that knowledge is becoming less and less, going down. You are always looking, because when you put aside the knowledge that you got through books, you then have to carry these books around with you to refresh your minds. You are like horses, putting too heavy a load on yourselves, carrying it around, and you are always tired. But we are not in need of carrying books, to be like a horse bearing so heavy a load. Rather, our knowledge carries us. Therefore, you are bearing a heavy burden, while our knowledge carries us along." And you see, this is the thing. It's like if we rely so much on books, then what do we do if we lose our books? I think it was an account about Imam al-Ghazali. At some point, he actually lost his books. And this really threw him for a while, because he was without his books. But then he learned from this that he had to commit that knowledge to his heart. Otherwise, without the books, he doesn't really possess the knowledge. Books are obviously useful things. I'm reading from one here. But at the same time, there's a limitation with the book. And it doesn't matter whether the books are like this or whether the books are digital. You know, nowadays we've got digital books that are on phones, on computers, on the internet. But what happens if the internet goes down? What happens if you lose your phone or your Kindle? Same thing. If we're dependent upon books and we lose them, then what do we do then? So we should use books, we should read, and Mawlana Shaykh Nazim loved books as well, even though he pointed this out. But he was an avid reader as well. I've seen pictures of Mawlana with his library and reading. So, you know, he was a scholar as well. But at the same time, he recognized that you have to be able to connect with this fountain of wisdom in the heart. And if you can do that, then whether you have the books or not, you'll be okay. Mawlana continues, for this reason, all mind products are a heavy load for scholars. The Prophet, beloved Muhammad said in the original words of a hadith, the calamity of knowledge is forgetfulness. The thing that destroys knowledge is to forget it. Therefore, each scholar is always worried about that point because he or she is growing older. At every moment, his or her mind's power grows weaker. Everything it may hold, little by little, leaves. Scholars are always thinking about this, about forgetting. There are so many things that causes our memory to grow weaker and weaker. And you know, people have told me this who have been scholars, in one form or another, whether academic ones or, you know, Islamic scholars. And people that, like, for instance, they used to speak Arabic fluently. It wasn't their first language, it was a second language. They used to speak it fluently. And as they got older and maybe had some poor health, they started to forget it because they're living in another country. They're not using Arabic all the time and they start to forget it. And other knowledge as well, which is exactly what Mawlana is saying here. And Mawlana continues, now people, even if they are scholars, are under the command of their egos. They do as their egos want so that their memories weaken. They do not use their hearts. Hearts are never weak. Hearts are strong, but we do not use them. My Grand Sheikh, Sultan of the Friends of Allah, Sheikh Abdullah Dagestani, may God bless him, was about 113 when he died. He used heart memory. When the heart's memory is all right, it never weakens. Such a person may know from the beginning of his life up to its end. He never loses his memory. However, those who leave their heart and use only their mind's memory are going to find that their knowledge decreases in time. Therefore, that Grand Sheikh, Abu Yazid Bastami, said to scholars, if you have no books, you are finished. If you forget what is in your memory, you are going to be empty vessels with nothing in them. You bring from outside and put into the mind's memory. When your minds are finished, they are like empty cups. Our knowledge, on the other hand, are springs in our hearts. Therefore, you can see that when they are old people, they lose everything. They lose what they say, what they do. But it is impossible to stop the springs of wisdom of those who have them in their hearts. It is impossible to stop those springs. The springs carry them as well. Wisdom is a divine power. It does not have ordinary properties. Divine powers come through wisdom and may take that person by his physical body from the east to the west in a second, may take them from the earth to the heavens. I am seeing that there are some desires appearing among Western people because I have never seen people who like to read books like Western people. Muslims always tried to read the Holy Quran. They never tired of reciting the Holy Book. Now, however, most people are occupied with their egos. This is also true of the Islamic world. Therefore, they have put aside reciting the Holy Quran, and also they do not really want to read other books in the way that Western people do. You have a hobby of reading books, but for what? A person may say, I have read perhaps 1,000 books, and I still want to read more and more. But for what? What is the main purpose for which I am reading and reading? And I am still hungry to read and read. Then it comes to their hearts. After all that reading, there must be something else. Therefore, now a lot of people are asking about Sufi knowledge. Then also they are beginning to read more and more and more, reading and reading. But yet they feel that they are still thirsty. They are thirsty even though they say that it is a spring. Still, it is not enough to quench their thirst. Now they are asking the real springs, as a person in a desert asks for water and springs. But most people see only illusions, so many illusions. And now in our time, so many Western people are running after such illusions. They imagine there may be a spring there, water. They run towards it, but find it is only an illusion. It is very rare to find an oasis amidst huge deserts, very rare. But as there are so many illusions, mirages, now I am sorry to say, Western people are all like a person in a huge desert and thirsty. They are looking everywhere, asking for water that will give them life, looking and running and finding that finally that they are all illusions. Still, they must run after an oasis. Therefore, our brothers who have come to visit us this morning are among those people who feel that they are in a desert and thirsty, asking to reach an oasis to drink. Otherwise, they would see only illusions everywhere. I am seeing here in England, in France, in Germany, in Holland, in America, everywhere, so many illusions. In India, in Pakistan, in Tibet, in China, in Russia, in the Caucasus, in Iran, in Turkey, in Arab countries, so many illusions, but very few oases. Rather, they are full up with illusions. The Lord of the heavens, the Lord of the children of Adam says, do not cut off your hope. Therefore, whoever seriously asks to find, he must find. Of course, what Mawlana is talking about here is a couple of things. One, Western people have this hobby of reading books, which is, of course, a good hobby. Mawlana's not criticizing that. It's a very good thing to do. And whether we're Western people or Eastern people, we should read books. And most people could do it reading more books. But Mawlana also asks a question and says, for what are people reading books? What is the main reason? And he said that people who read a lot of books, then something comes into their hearts and they're looking for spiritual knowledge, or as Mawlana says here, Sufi knowledge. They're looking for spirituality. They're looking for the source of truth, the source of wisdom, the true guidance. And no matter how much they read, then they start reading books on spiritual topics, spiritual books. And no matter how much they read, their thirst is not quenched. Because someone who really is on this quest, then no matter how much they read, they will never get tired of it. I can say that from personal experience, the number of books that I've read, and I still pick up books to read. I never tire of that. But he also said that people today are, when he says that people are like they're in a desert, and there's so many illusions, so many mirages, Mawlana is pointing out that although there's so much promise, so many people promising that they have something, many of these are false teachers. Many people, they claim to have something, but when you actually investigate that and sit with them, they don't really have. And I mean, there's a lot of people today, when it comes to religion and spirituality, they just parrot what other people have said. It's not really entered their hearts. They don't really have a spring in their heart of spiritual light and wisdom that is coming through them. But they're just repeating what other people have said. I suppose they have something, but in another way, they don't really have the real deal. And there's so many illusions, like people, they will go from this place to that place, seeking. But just because a place is famous, and maybe something a long time ago happened in that place that was of some spiritual benefit or importance, doesn't mean that in those places today you're going to find what other people found previously. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. So because of it, you've got all these illusions where people will travel even expensive holidays from one place to another place in another part of the world, and they still can't find what they're looking for. So they spent all this money, they've traveled to a far-flung location, but just because they've done that, they're still thirsty. They didn't find what they were looking for, because really all they've done is traveled from point A to point B. And if they couldn't find spirituality in point A, what makes you think they're going to find it in point B? Yes, sometimes if they meet the right people, they might find something, but not necessarily. Just because people travel doesn't mean they'll find it. But then Mawlana quotes from the Quran, where Allah says, do not cut off your hope. Surah 39, Ayah 53. And Mawlana says, whoever seriously asks to find, he must find. So whoever prays to Allah and asks for guidance, sincerely from the bottom of their heart, they must find it. And Mawlana continues, why is it that Allah makes wisdom difficult to find? Because everything that one finds easily is cheap, taken for granted, while everything that one finds with difficulty, one looks after more carefully. One may say that it is so difficult to obtain. Yes, that is true. Therefore, if you are asking for an oasis, it is difficult to find, and you must find every difficulty. You must face every difficulty to find it. As long as you are alive, you must walk towards somewhere. There may be 100 illusions. Then you may find at the end of 100 that oasis. Don't say, I went there and found that it was an illusion. Then turn to one and that also was an illusion. I have run after all 99 and found them all to be illusions. Why should I try this one? Don't say it. To the extent that you can walk, you must go on and try. 99 may be illusions, but one may be a real oasis for you, because the Lord says, don't cut off hope, don't despair. And you know, it's strange. This is exactly the same advice that my dad gave me in a different context. My dad was talking about the doors to success. So in terms of You know, whatever I strive to do in life, my dad told me when I was a boy, he said, don't give up. If you don't succeed the first time, try and try again and keep trying. Even if you find the door locked, keep knocking at that door until it opens. And if that's the wrong door, go and find another door and knock on that door until you find what you're looking for. This is a wisdom actually that applies not only to the spiritual path, but it applies to whatever we do in life, that we should never give up and we should keep trying. As long as we've got breath in our lungs, as long as we've got our ability to do stuff, we have to keep trying. And even if we're disappointed, as Mawlana says here, even if we're disappointed 99 times, keep trying until you find what you're looking for. It's a great piece of advice. And whether you're on a spiritual path, or even if you're running a business, or you're trying to be a great sports star or anything like that, never give up. Never cut off hope. Keep trying. Because whatever you put your energy into, whatever you work towards, eventually you will succeed. But as long as you don't give up, if you give up, you will never succeed. And this is what Mawlana says here. When you cut off hope, you're going to die. Finished. No one dies until he cuts off hope of living. But whoever hopes to live may live. Whoever hopes to find must find. SubhanAllah. You know, I love these Sohbets by Mawlana Shaykh Nazim. I've been reading them for so many years, and I've always found them a great and tremendous source of inspiration. And really helped me understand Islam and the spiritual path. I hope you benefited from that. And if you find these broadcasts beneficial, please, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and my website at paulusarmstrong.com so that you can be kept up to date with the latest broadcasts. I go live on Instagram and Facebook through Zoom every Monday and Friday at 5 p.m. on a Monday. And it's usually a bit earlier than this on the Friday, but I was running a bit late today. And, you know, I look forward to seeing you again in future. Unless there are any questions, I will close that here. Okay. Then I will close this now. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. If you're in the UK, also a very good evening, and have a wonderful weekend. God bless.